So, as I was preparing for this topic specifically and really, really thinking about it as we look at hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, two of these are basic needs, right? Hungry and tired. And two of these are felt needs, angry and lonely. So, I felt like it's really amazing how quickly things can spiral when each of these are not properly recognized and addressed. And so, it's helpful for us to view these next things through that lens of, okay, we're talking about basic needs and we're talking about felt needs, and all of them come together to help our child to regulate and for relationship to be restored when behaviors are difficult. But I started with the HALT method tool first because it truly is a game changer, friends. Let's talk about a little bit of the why behind each of these. And then the Lord, even just as I was preparing this morning, gave me a reminder from scripture that I think ties into this beautifully. So here we go. Let's talk about the HALT method. First, we talked about is hungry. This is a basic need for all of us. But I also want us to point out that for kids who have experienced food insecurity as a part of their previous experience before coming to us as parents, friends, hunger is a trigger, and the brain literally reverts back to survival mode and remembers when it didn't have enough to nourish the body. And quite frankly, because of that, it can forget or short circuit the progress that you have made, especially in the early days of helping your child to rewire their brains to feel assured and safe that their needs will always be met. But hunger can be a basic need that can really trigger trauma from previous experiences and cause behavior that can be very, very challenging. So if we're aware of that, especially for our kiddos who come to us either through foster care or maybe from an international situation where their care was not ideal, then if we have that in the back of our minds, then that's something that we can be prepared for and anticipate for our kids. We understand, yes, we all get hungry, but there's another level of hungry that I think would be helpful for us to understand. Now, just basic needs, and for all of us, whether we've had trauma or not, if our blood sugar is low, we get cranky, right? Hangry is a very real thing. So if our basic needs are not met, truly the higher functioning parts of our brains overhaul our ability to regulate our emotions and our behaviors properly. That's true for us as adults, and it's certainly true for our kids who have not been properly trained or had the time to exercise different practices and different means of communication to get their needs met. So we're less aggravated by the behaviors if they're related to hunger because we're understanding these things. So, practically speaking, for the early days of placement, whether it's through adoption or foster care, when you know that food security is or could be an issue, keep a snack basket in your child's room and maybe one in the kitchen. So they have a visual reminder everywhere they go in the community rooms and in their safe space of their room to know that there is food available anytime that they need it. Similarly, if you're out running errands, you're at a play date, you're at a sporting event, you're at church, and you're going to be in between meals, bring a snack bag and a water bottle. Those are key and something just to prioritize to make sure that you can head off any type of a trigger that might come as a result of that hunger. Now, watch your child's pattern of triggers. If you know that they're going to be hungry an hour after a meal, be ready. And it seems like a lot of work on the front end, but if you're anticipating on behalf of your child, that's just another way that you are actually communicating to them, I see you, I care, and I am here and ready to meet this before you have to even think about it or panic. Really important. Keep healthy options that are free as much as possible from artificial dyes, as well as things that will burn off in their systems quickly, i.e., empty carbs, things that will leave them feeling hungry really soon after they have already eaten. So instead, let's think of healthy alternatives that are still kid friendly, jerky sticks, some form of protein, something with peanut butter in it, dried fruits, nuts like trail mixes, and then fresh fruit, apples, bananas, grapes, different things like that are the natural sugars that your body responds well to. Certainly, if there's a food allergy related, then we'll modify that. But just speaking in general terms, and it's really hard to think this way, but friends, there's an element of truth to, we're not at our best when we're hungry. And we can say and do some really hurtful and frustrating things. And that is true for us as adults. How many times have we apologized for things we said when we were hungry, right? And so we've got to have that lens of grace for our kiddos who have not had the time to practice or have not yet been taught the proper way to communicate through words rather than unlovable behavior when it comes to being hangry and that being a trigger point for them. So the first question you want to ask when you're seeing misbehavior or you're seeing escalated behavior patterns in your kids, are they hungry? Number two, Are they angry? Now, anger is a basic emotion that we all experience. And there are even multiple accounts in scripture where we see God experience anger. So, anger in of itself is not sin, but it is rather the choices we make when we are angry that can be sinful. And Ephesians 4:26 reminds us, in your anger, do not sin. It doesn't say don't be angry. So, our kids are going to get angry for various reasons. Now, some of this may just be annoyance over minor inconveniences, us pushing them to do things that they don't want to do, like chores or a routine. And some of this anger may come from just deep rooted pain tied to their story, whatever that might look like.